Welcome to the California Automated Drone Podcast, where we talk to experts in the field about their experiences in the drone industry. I am your host, Josh Friedman, and we are here today with Cornell Herg from Emax USA, a leading manufacturer in drone racing gear for the racing industry. We are going to be talking about drone sports and drone racing and how and why you should get involved right now.
There are drone sports community groups in just about every community.
Oh, I want to be a drone service provider and I'm going to go do drone mapping. Well, for what?
All of the things that I've done is to promote safety for our industry.
But if you really want to go in depth into understanding what you're doing, community college along with online learning is a way to go.
Hey Cornell, thank you so much again. How's it going today?
Well, things are going good, Josh. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's my pleasure. Where are you coming from today to share all of this with us about drone racing?
So currently, due to the lockdowns, everyone at Emax is currently work from home. So I'm just here in my little humble abode here in Santa Ana. Our main office is based in Yorba Linda, so it's a little bit of a commute, but not too bad.
I love it. Well, let's start today by talking about your company. Let's talk about Emax. What are you guys known for? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so at Emax, I like to put it where we're kind of, we create flight experiences for people. And the reason is there's so many cool attributes to drone flying, and a lot of people have different preferences. So at Emax, we're kind of like a think tank trying to come up with different new ways and styles people can fly and ways people can race and gain an edge against the competition. And it's, honestly a lot of fun to come up with new angles at drone flying.
And Emax, you guys are a drone manufacturing company, so you guys are literally designing from scratch drawings and then also developing parts and putting it together. What's that process like for you guys with the company? Where are the parts coming from? What's happening in California? What's happening outside? Can you share some of that information?
So a little bit of backstory is Emax kind of originally started as a motor manufacturer. We manufactured brushless motors for a lot of top companies, things like DJI, Google, Intel, stuff like that. And eventually wanted to get more into the consumer space. Drone racing was starting to grow into a big thing, and Bob, the owner of Emax, he had a passion for RC, so he kind of got Emax rolling into that field. He also started Emax USA in order to help kind of steer the company into that consumer-oriented direction. So kind of our process is we first come up with some design points that we're looking for. So things like, okay, is this product focused on durability and flight time, or are we looking more for performance in a professional drone racing setting? All these different things. And then it's just a series of testing and tons of simulations until we come up with a design that looks really promising. We move into building some prototypes where we have our office in China. They'll do things like super high quality resin prints, simulating materials, all kinds of stuff. We'll build out our prototypes, do a lot of testing, and if things are good, we do manufacture most of everything in-house whenever we can. And what that does is it helps us lower cost, because one of our big selling points is we also aim to be one of the more affordable brands in FPV, because both you and I know FPV is a very expensive hobby and it definitely adds up. So for us to be able to do everything in-house and deliver a finished product, whether it's a bind and fly or a ready to fly, straight to the customer with no tweaking, software is already pre-programmed and everything, just connect it to your remote or buy the kit with the remote and just start flying and have that full-blown virtual reality flight experience. That's just something we really aim to provide to our customers.
And we'll talk about drone racing and what that experience is like in just a moment. But first, you showed me a moment ago you have one of the drones that you guys make, the Tiny Hawk, that you guys are really well known for. Tell me what's that drone used for? What's it all about?
Yeah, so let me get a close-up for you. So we'll have that. Okay.
Perfect.
So the Tiny Hawk 2 is our beginner-oriented indoor whoop, and why we say that is this thing is absolutely indestructible. Like I said, one of the key things is in the beginning we go over our talking points and design points. This guy we engineered for maximum durability because beginners, when you're flying inside your house, you're going to be bashing and crashing this thing, and it has to take a beating. So we made this thing with a nice flexible plastic, while still stiff enough to retain rigidity. And also flight time was another key component. So when you look at a lot of our competitors, they kind of go for more of a traditional drone style, where the props are over the arms. But in order to completely maximize efficiency and flight time, we actually went with props being underneath the arm. So it actually doubles as a safety as well. If you're a beginner, you're not going to reach down and get your fingers all hurt by the propeller. So it's great for kids as well. So we have this as kind of our beginner FPV racing kind of drone. You can buy one of these and go to a local whoop race in your area, and chances are most people are probably also racing these as well, and you will just fit right in. You'll have a high performance racing drone.
I love it. And drone racing is a little bit different, I think, than flying, a typical drone that you would use for video production, photography. I mean, a lot of us are flying, the DJI Mavics or Phantoms or Inspires, although obviously we're seeing DJI now getting into this game as well. What's different about drone racing than what I'm doing, holding a remote, looking at a screen? For beginners specifically, what's the biggest difference for you?
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the biggest difference, I would say, is with drone videography, you're normally just kind of looking at a screen. You're more so just trying to get a shot, slow and smooth, get that cinematic look. But with drone racing, we're kind of sticking people inside virtual reality goggles here. So this is the goggle we make for our RTF kit that comes with the Tiny Hawk 2. And when you wear this goggle, you get this complete full immersion into your racing experience. And then these drones are actually geared for high speeds. So even the Tiny Hawk 2, it's a small whoop, but once you put in our Pro battery, if you will, the 2S battery, so it's double the voltage of a traditional whoop, you're going to be going at really fast speeds. We have clocked the Tiny Hawk 2, that little drone, at over 40 miles an hour. Wow. So it is still
fast
a really
for a little
fast
drone.
Exactly.
Wow.
So 40 miles an hour through these virtual reality goggles, and you're in this indoor racing track, or maybe it's outdoors too. It's still really fast, and it's not exactly an experience you're going to get out of a larger cinema drone.
I mean, I hear from a lot of racers that, it becomes, in a positive way, it becomes an addiction. You need to be in those goggles. You want to be in the goggles. At night, you're having dreams of drone racing where you're literally in the goggles, dreaming at night, getting that first-person view. And for those who don't know, what you're seeing in the goggles is what the drone sees. So there's a camera on the drone, it's looking forward, and as you're doing flips and as you're doing loops and you're going through different obstacles, that's what you're seeing. And it's a very different vantage point, obviously, and something that I think a lot of people really enjoy, getting just into that headspace of, getting that first-person view, getting off the ground, you're getting that experience of actual flight.
It feels like you're inside, like you're piloting a jet, essentially. Just incredibly high speed, and you're just holding onto the edge of your seat.
Yeah,
it is incredible experience, and I have heard stories of ex-Air Force people who got into FPV, and they're just so excited because it flies like a miniature jet from back in the day. They love it. Yeah.
So how do people get involved in a drone league, a drone racing league, if they want to? What, let's say I know nothing about drone racing and I want to meet people who do this. Where do I go? What do I do?
So perhaps the easiest route to go would be an organization called MultiGP, and they have a website where you can look up local MultiGP chapters in your area. And all a chapter is basically it's a small club, and people will gather regularly, whether it's once a week, once a month, depending on the organization. And people just kind of get together and they host these little small races. Sometimes they'll have cash prizes. Other times you're kind of getting a score added onto your MultiGP scoreboard. And then if you have enough points, you can qualify for a professional race like MultiGP Nationals. And that's where the big bucks start rolling.
Well, let's talk about those big bucks, because I think this is something that it's much like me as a professional musician, in addition to doing all the drone stuff I'm doing. Everyone knows that you can make a ton of money if you're a professional musician. And then people become professional musicians and they realize, wow, not everyone's making a ton of money as a professional musician, right?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a similar vibe in drone racing, right? In your experience, like, who's really making a ton of money and how much are they making?
Yeah. Well, the real people making money are generally more so social media influencers. So people who are using their racing skills in order to build their own brand, build themselves up, and then start, helping and building the community. As far as like drone racing itself, while there is still some compensation, you could get sponsored. Generally, that kind of just pays for the hobby itself, really, because when you're professionally racing, you're going to be crashing a lot, breaking a lot of things, and the costs in drone racing definitely add up.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, as you said before, it's an expensive hobby, in that you're constantly replacing gear, and it's,
absolutely.
There's no way to avoid replacing gear.
Yeah.
All right, Cornell. So let's move into this part now where you're going to share a video or two with us. Tell me, what's the first video that we're going to see?
Okay, so this video is a video on the Easy Pilot, and the Easy Pilot is our really true absolute beginner whoop. So the Tiny Hawk 2 is still more for people who have had some RC experience in the past, but the Easy Pilot was kind of engineered more for people with experience wanting to get, say, their kids into FPV or their friends and family into FPV that have zero previous experience. This video is about the Emax Easy Pilot, which is our ultra beginner type drone. Tiny Hawk 2 was kind of designed more for people with some previous RC experience, so it doesn't have a lot of the super beginner features like a DJI might have. The Easy Pilot instead will have things like barometer hold and altitude hold. It'll have this, my favorite feature is the one-stick control. So it's actually, in my opinion, even easier to fly than a DJI drone, because you don't have to control two sticks at one time. You just pop it up, and then you just use one stick, and it just kind of steers around and kind of drives like a car or a boat, which is really easy to fly and kind of get that experience. And this is probably the best avenue a lot of people have used in order to get their kids or family into FPV, so they can enjoy FPV as a big family experience.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to discount, getting that thing just to hold and stop in place when you're off stick is a really big deal for I shouldn't say lower end, for less expensive drones, right? The older ones, you had to stay on the throttle to keep it up, which is still the case, I know, in some racing drones, but it's a much more challenging experience, and I think a lot of people, I wouldn't say they would give up because it's so hard, but I think people tend to get into the industry when they have an easier experience at the beginning, and having less expensive drones that will hover when you're off a stick. I know I have toddlers, and they would fly that drone. They would love flying that drone, and it would be easy for them, right? All right, so go ahead and go ahead and hit play on the video there, and let's talk over it.
All right, so in this video, we're kind of having a family setting, and there's like a birthday party kind of going on. And what I was just really trying to like drive home is that this is a great gift for like parents and things to kind of get their kids into FPV. And kind of the main reason for that is a lot of people, they will have their kids like, oh, dad, mom, like that's a really cool drone, I want to fly it. And parents aren't going to be like, yeah, sure, here's a $2,000 drone, just go for it. So the Easy Pilot is like this really great affordable way to just kind of get your kids into it. So here in this scene, we have the dad and daughter literally flying together and just having this fun FPV experience that they can enjoy together. And it's a really great way for families to bond together.
Yeah, Cornell, I think one of the coolest things that I've seen when I go out to the fields is families. You've got anywhere from, again, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids who are racing with people who are like retired, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I've even seen 3 generations of people flying drones together. I've seen husbands and wives coming out together, and you talk to the wives and they're like, I'm so grateful that my husband got me into this. Or the opposite, which I hate to say it, doesn't happen as often as you know. We're trying to get more women into this industry. But yeah, I love the concept here. And you made this video as well, is that correct? You did the production on this?
Yeah. So for me at Emacs, my role is the marketing director, but we still kind of run things like pretty flat overall, and we do have like hands in like we're kind of like a team essentially, kind of like helping each other out. So even though I'm marketing director, I do a lot of like video production stuff, and that's kind of more so my background into why I got into this. But producing like these videos, marketing, and for me and why I wanted to bring my video skills into the drone market was I just wanted to grow the market. And me coming to Emacs was, I saw Emacs, they had a good brand value behind them. They were kind of growing and still small at the time, but I saw potential. So I wanted to help them out and grow their business into what is now the leading drone manufacturer.
I love it. Well, let's watch one more video. What's the next one you want to share?
All right, so here we got 3 Tiny Hawks kind of set up for this epic drone race and have this epic music. Everyone puts their goggles on for the FPV experience, and the drones take off. We kind of built a really cool drone racing course that's pretty reminiscent of like a lot of those local drone races you'll find in your area, with like LED gates and stuff like that. So something really fun here is I built like this flaming hoop, like a fire gate essentially. And here I kind of having this shot of showing how fast the drone is flying, approaching the fire gate here. And we have 2 of the drones here. They're going to crash, and just kind of like building that whole epic like drone racing experience. And it crashes, but even though the drone bends, it's still fine and durable, and the guy wins the race.
Awesome. I love it. So I actually have one last question. We've been asking everybody this for all of the industry sectors that we're talking to. What are some of the skills that people need to have if they're interested in getting into drone racing?
So the skills needed into drone racing are actually quite varied. For one, that's a given, is you need to develop skills of actually flying. So people with maybe like video game experience and stuff know exactly what I mean. You just got to develop those motor skills. You are using a controller, so kind of getting a feel for the ergonomics and being able to make split second decisions as you're making turns or recovering from a dive. There's that. But for me, a lot of the appeal of drone racing is that we're literally building flying robots. And I think that is just such a cool, like, futurist thing that we're doing here, because you gotta, if you're building your drone for your specific flight style and stuff and customizing things, you gotta know things like soldering, you gotta know things like software programming and flashing onto your chip and doing PID values and stuff. You got to like measure the performance of your motors, what kV and propellers are the most efficient with the maximum performance, and all these so many variables. Then you're also dealing with things like transmission quality and things from like your radio, your video feed, maximizing like video strength with the right antenna, and so many different things from RF, engineering, robotics, software, everything. All of it is encapsulated in this glorious hobby called FPV. And to me, that's what really gets me excited.
I mean, I love it. I can see your passion literally coming through the screen right now, and I think like many things, the good news is people don't need to learn every single one of these things right away. Welcome for joining us, Yogi, for those watching. He just came back in the room. You don't need to learn all of those things right away. I think that these are things that people learn over time. Of course, colleges are teaching some classes in a lot of these skills. I think a lot of people are learning a lot of this online. But there's, I think, no substitute for joining a league, getting out there, and just being around drone racers and being around people that fly and just learning literally in a field, in the field, how to do it. I mean, is that your experience? I mean, how would you recommend people get these skills and learn how to fly FPV?
I mean, in a way, kind of repeating what you said, is for me, the big draw here is going to be community. So for me, when I was trying to learn FPV on my own, I was struggling. Like I thought you just had to buy one ESC and that just runs your whole drone. I didn't realize, oh no, ESCs control a motor, and as such, for however many motors you got, you need that many number of ESCs, for example. Something really basic, but like I was struggling as I was trying to piece it together. But it wasn't until I kind of just bumped into some people flying, and turned out they had a community, and I kind of joined that community, and we kind of like talked, and they helped me learn and teach me the ropes. That's what really helped me get into FPV and helped me accelerate my skill way faster than it would have been learning from my own. So if I can offer any piece of advice, it would be to find and join your local community.
I love it, and I could not agree more. Well, thank you so much, Cornell, for doing this today, and thank you for all of you who are watching or listening. If you want more information about drone careers and where you could get educated to help your drone career take off, please go to californiaautomated.com. Find us on social media. Like, share, subscribe, learn. This has been another awesome episode of the California Automated Drone Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Friedman, and we just spent some time with Cornell Herg from Emacs USA, and we're both reminding you to fly safe and fly often.